And then all these universes seem to kind of wrap around into a tunnel of light. It's a very good description. People have used that description. It really did feel like a tunnel of light with these silver clouds going around, and I'm being launched through it with no awareness of myself anymore, who I was, just pure sensation. And it was beautiful, and it was so fascinating. Never felt better in my life. Came out of this tunnel of light into this infinite blue void, like sky blue. And it presented itself as infinite consciousness, infinite possibility, infinite in all directions. There's nothing to limit it, period.
I'm pleased to have Gary Wimmer as my guest today. Gary died in February 7th of 1977, and there was a whole plethora of experiences there, and he is here to share that with us today. Gary, thank you so much for being my guest.
My pleasure, Tia. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, the honor's mine. And so tell me what happened on February 7th, 1977.
Well, I'll give you a little backstory. I was raised Catholic. I was an altar boy. I was always curious about God and Christ and Jesus and everything. Uh, but then puberty hit, and I kept my interest in God and Christ and all that, but kind of left the Catholic Church. They were a little behind. If you can't deal with human sexuality, you got a little bit to learn. So anyway, uh, I got in college and started asking people about other religions and so forth. A couple people turned me on to Edgar Casey. I started reading a lot of Edgar Casey, and that's the first thing that made sense to me as far as life and God and reincarnation and no accidents, everything's cause and effect and so forth. So I really got interested in that. I moved to Austin in 1970, Austin, Texas, here, and actually an astrologer in college in Lubbock, Texas, and an astrologer when I moved here to Austin. Both said you got a lot of natural psychic ability. You ought to look into it. So I was an electrical engineer. It was 1970. It was all defense work. I graduated. I served as a conscientious objector at a state school because I did not want to be involved in Vietnam, and it was all defense work. 2 years later, I got out of conscientious objector duty. And it was still all defense work. So I thought, hell with this. I'll go play music. I started playing guitar way back in the early 60s. When the Beatles came out and the Stones and all that, I learned every song, guitar, lead. So anyway, I thought I'll be a musician. Okay. And I did a lot of traveling, and I started giving readings with a regular deck of playing cards. That was nice and simple. Um, and I like simple symbolism. Uh, and I was pretty good at it. Then in 1977, I was traveling with a band and needed some time off. So I quit the band for a while, not sure what I was going to do about my relationship with my girlfriend and career and gigs. And I started, I was living with these two guys, both Aquarians, in a little bitty duplex. I moved in about a couple months earlier and had hardly been there. I knew one of the guys pretty well, Brandon, and the other guy, Mark, I didn't know quite as well. But anyway, all of a sudden I'm living at their house again, hadn't hardly even been there. And this was January 31st, 77. I'd felt weird that whole day. As we were driving back to Austin, I kept feeling weird. I hadn't slept much the night before. We got to our duplex about, I don't know, 7 o'clock that night, 6 o'clock. Unloaded my gear, talked to my roommates, and then I started picking up things people were going to say before they'd say it. Kind of blew my mind. Anyway, my roommates went to bed and I talked with my neighbors, and all of a sudden I thought they asked me for the vacuum attachments or vacuum. And they didn't actually say it, but I looked up and said, "Did you say something about wanting to borrow my vacuum?" "Yeah, how did you know?" I didn't know. I started picking up all this. Well, I went to bed that night, or tried to, couldn't sleep, awake all night, thinking, what's going on? Started feeling a strange sense of being. Next day, I woke up. Well, I didn't wake up. I got out of bed, walked in the living room. My roommate's walking through reading the newspaper, and I saw the headlines through his eyes about Jimmy Carter. I went, whoa. He threw the paper down on a table in front of us, and I just stared at it for a moment. And he said, "You okay?" Yeah. Anyway, my other roommate went to work. I walked down to the store and back, got some stuff, felt like I could hear everybody thinking, picking up their thoughts, and this is getting kind of weird. I went home, started unpacking my stuff because I barely even had unpacked it. I hadn't even been there much. And I started feeling all these premonitions of or histories of people when they gave me a book of poems or a certain thing as I'm setting up objects. I feel like they're right behind me. And I kept turning around, going, wow, of course they're not here. That night, my roommate and I went to a bar, and as we walked in, I felt this strange premonition at this certain point right outside the door. So we walked in, listened to music in the back, a little too loud for me. I went out to the front to the bar, sat down a little quieter, people playing pool, and I started picking up everybody's thoughts again. I thought, man, I need a break. Maybe I'll go outside. All of a sudden, I'm outside, and these people are walking right through me. And it scared me. I opened my eyes. Nope, I'm sitting right here in the bar stool. But I'd just been transported outside to that exact place where 15 minutes earlier, coming in, I felt this strange premonition. And I'll try that again. I kept imagining myself out to that place, and I'd see people, and then I opened my eyes. I'd be back in my bench, of course, in the stool, and they'd come in dressed exactly as I'd seen them. And then my roommate came in from the other room. What are you doing? I said, it's hard to explain. I'll just show you. So I kept predicting the next couple people come through the door, how they'd be dressed. And I picked up their name and everything, but I couldn't prove that. Blew his mind, blew my mind too, but I couldn't turn this off. This sudden ability started just escalating. And within a day or two, it got to the point that I was really concerned. My roommates were concerned. Every time the phone rang, I could tell who it was. I kept seeing clocks. Someone would say, I'll be over in a while. I'd look up the clock and say 11:15, and sure enough, they'd be at my porch at 11:15. All these coincidences started happening, and it was freaking me out. I have to be honest with you. And by the second and third day, I couldn't turn this off. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why it was happening. I started getting pretty terrified. At the same time, I was feeling very enlightened. It was a very thin tightrope of reality. Am I going crazy? Wow, this is interesting. Terror and confusion at the same time, but I couldn't turn it off. I had no idea what was going on or why, so I just kept going along for the ride. I'll give you an example of what I was feeling. I couldn't go back to normal life. I couldn't imagine what I'd be doing if I wasn't completely overcome with this instantaneously 100% correct psychic ability. It just took over. And so I thought I'll just go along with it. There was no neutral. So I could either pick stuff up of other people, of what was going to happen, clocks, timing, who's going to call on the phone, or I could look at random strangers 4 blocks away and think, scratch your head and point up to that building, and they would do it. And I'd go, whoa, 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 whoa. If I made that happen, that's one thing. That's terrifying. If I happened to just pick up that they were about to do that, that's another thing. And I could not tell the difference between creator and witness. Boy, that amped it up to another level. We went to a restaurant, for example, my roommate and I, and of course he's seen me through a couple of days of this, and he's concerned. And he asked me, what's it like now? You still feeling this? And I said, yeah, so much I can't. He's concerned. So he said, explain it to me, talk to me. I said, okay, well, I'll show you. It's easier. Like I did at the club the other night. I looked over in the corner, there's 2 ladies far over in the corner there. I said, do you know either of those ladies? And he kind of looked around and said, I don't think so. I said, me neither, but I'm going to ask the brunette who's facing away from us. I'm going to have her write us a letter, or write me a letter. He said, what? So let's just have her write me a letter. Perfectly harmless. You want to know what's going on? This is what's going on. We start eating dinner. He forgot about it completely. And 15 minutes later, the two ladies are walking out. The blonde walked out first, and then the brunette behind her. And as they passed our table, she threw a napkin down, one of those little napkins at the table. And she had written, "Why are you doing this to me?" in big capital letters with a damn question mark. And I read that letter and showed it to him, and we're both freaking out. And she's gone, and I thought I wanted to go out and ask her what she felt. Why'd you write me that? But I was too kind of petrified. I thought, wow, I'm affecting people. I'm screwing up their life. And I had to be real aware of everything, but that was getting impossible because I was picking up so much stuff. People were concerned. As I said, I couldn't turn it off, but I kept feeling these guardian angels watching me. So I felt some sort of higher source of power, God, guardian angels, and they seemed to have called themselves the monitors, or I named them that because I kept feeling them monitoring me. I couldn't see them, but I could feel them. I wasn't completely alone. Oh, thank you. And one night, the monitors kept saying things like, not one night, but several times, like, look for verification all the time, verification. Keep your eyes on the light. These little symbols to ensure connectivity to higher mind state. I felt like if I went to sleep or lost consciousness or something, the whole universe might evaporate. Like the whole responsibility of the universe on my shoulders. I couldn't take it. It was too much. After a week of this, yeah, I was terrified. But at the same time, like I said, completely overwhelmed spiritually, but it was can't walk down that path anymore. I couldn't even think of what I would normally be doing if I wasn't overwhelmed by this psychic ability that just cranked up to 10 because I couldn't consider it because it was cranked up to 10. So February 7th, 1977, I've darted out of our duplex. It's been a crazy week. My roommates are freaking out. I'm freaking out. I wasn't sure where I was going to go. I just need to get out. And I thought about walking over to my girlfriend's house. My car was broken, so it's about 8 miles away. And I hadn't slept in a week, and I've got so much physical energy, just beyond normal. So I started walking to my girlfriend's house and got a ride with a guy once, gave me a little ride up near Guadalupe Street in Austin and let me out. And then I started walking down the street, and there's so many people. I'm picking up all this stuff again. I'm starting to freak out again, and I'm praying, and I start crying. And a big group of people kind of formed around me, like watching me. They're concerned. What's wrong with this guy? And I was almost wanting to tell him to just back away, get away. I might explode, blow parts of myself all over because that's the way I felt. And then all of a sudden, I started crying. I started praying, and they're watching me, trying to decide whether to intervene or just wait. This guy's freaking out on something. And all of a sudden, in the middle of this terror, I felt completely warm, completely fearless, instantaneously. Wow. I opened my eyes, and there's this huge light coming down on my head. And my first thought was, wow, I can see that light's coming from about 6 feet above my head. If I had a step ladder, I could touch this because it looked like a big, clear, translucent crystal table. And the light's coming down from it. And I look around, and none of these people watching me even acknowledge this. And I didn't care. It was the most profound, real, and illuminating thing I'd felt. And like I said, fear had just disappeared instantly. And I didn't know what was going on. But as I looked up, I saw these monitors, the guardian angels who'd been watching me through the table, and the light was coming down from their hands. There were all around, 7 of them. And I couldn't believe it. And they said, "Do you trust us?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm overwhelmed. I don't understand what's happening here." "Shh, do you trust us?" They asked me a time or two, and I finally got the point. "Shut up, Gary. Say yes." And I did. Long story short, and it's explained in detail in my book, A Second in Eternity, which I wrote about this. Seconds later, I was hit head on by a speeding car as a pedestrian. Wham! I was outside my body, looking at my body getting tumbled over the car, kind of laughing. It's like, wow, that's what happens on Earth. Because I was outside my body and I was expanding like a balloon, not going out like an arrow, all directions at once. Saw my body tumbling over the car, people screaming and hollering. I didn't care. It's kind of a joke. I just kept expanding, and all of a sudden, the whole city of Austin became a little dot, and then the whole Earth did. And I had no recollection of myself then, really. It felt like the Earth has gone inside me. I could see it from 360 degrees, North, South Pole, Antarctica, all at once, because it was spiritually inside me. My body's on Guadalupe Street, but I started expanding my consciousness, and then I went through the other planets, and then through the whole galaxy, and then through all these galaxies, like behind you, all those stars. I came out of this universe and looked up and saw infinite universes just like behind you, like, wow, that's the universe I came out of. But there's infinite. And this blew my mind. It's like nothing's limiting the amount of universes there are or possibilities. This is amazing. And then all these universes seem to kind of wrap around into a tunnel of light. It's a very good description. People have used that description. It really did feel like a tunnel of light with these silver clouds going around, and I'm being launched through it with no awareness of myself anymore, who I was, just pure sensation. And it was beautiful. And it was so fascinating. Never felt better in my life. Came out of this tunnel of light into this infinite blue void, like sky blue. And it presented itself as infinite consciousness, infinite possibility, infinite in all directions. There's nothing to limit it, period. And there was two possibilities. One, it exists and everything exists, possibilities, or it wouldn't exist and nothing would exist. There's no in between. It's all infinite or nothing. And guess which one happened? Infinite. Manifestation. I was seeing this and mind blown. It's like parts of creation just came by and sort of showed me. I didn't even have any idea about my life on Earth, completely forgot about it. And I felt like I was there for infinity, most enjoyable thing in my life. And then all of a sudden, it felt like I was observing it, not part of it, but observing it. And I was kind of pulled away by a term that I used in the book called spiritual gravity. I feel like something's pulling me back somewhere. And I had no choice but to go with it because the spiritual gravity was stronger than my ability to stay there. I kind of wanted to stay there, but I couldn't. I was pulled back, had no idea where I was going or who I was. But the closer I got to this galaxy, I felt some sort of familiarity. And then I started coming to Earth and felt more familiarity. But right before I came back into my body, I saw three series of pictures. The first was all that we're going through now, this complete world revolution where everything was pushed to its max and is. Environment, politics, tempers, you know, excuse me. And that kind of scared me. It looked pretty haunting. I saw, and this is like a 50, 100-year period. It's not just a weekend or a month or a year or a decade. It's a transition from the age of Aquarius or Pisces to Aquarius, the second coming, the world revolution, whatever you want to call it. It is happening, and it has to happen because we have to see everything that is broken so we can fix it. I was seeing the whole society go through all this societies, the whole planet going through this for 50, 100 years of fixing ourselves and our systems. Then the next set of pictures were the next 1,000 years or so of real peace, beauty, harmony, space, technology, beautiful um, time of mankind, beautiful time to exist because we work out a lot of our issues. Now, that's ain't a month from now. It's probably a decade, I mean, a century from now. And it's not a specific date. It's a transition from this Pisces age of self and fear and doubt into the Aquarian age of mind, spirit, technology, space. That's where we're headed. The second coming of Jesus. It ain't him coming around walking around on sandals. It's Christ consciousness in every human being. No guy with sandals is going to walk around and have much of effect. I mean, hell, you can be Elon Musk and all that power anybody, and 5 minutes later, somebody else is on the thing on TV. So yeah, it's the consciousness that's coming back. It became very apparent to me. That's the second series of pictures. The first was all the chaos. The second was the other side of this, and I felt very, wow, this is neat, but who am I? And the third set of pictures, I saw myself, but I didn't know it was me, playing piano, traveling all over. And then I saw my body. And I jumped back into my body like, wow, there I am. And I'm laying in the middle of the street, and there's a guy hovering over me with red hair. He was the driver of the car. He's screaming, he's freaking out. And I saw my body. I just jumped right in. And sure enough, as soon as I opened my eyes and my body's red hairs all over my face, and man, you heard I tried to stop. He was freaked out. Well, I had just been to heaven and back. Now, this was kind of eerie, but I didn't need his clutter. So I kind of pushed him away and, man, you could be in shock. I'm not even hurt. How do you know? Can't even deal with this. I kind of pushed him away. He fell over. I just wanted to shut up. I didn't know what to do. And I thought, well, nobody's hurt. I'll just go home. The car's all banged up, but I couldn't deal with all this. So I started trying to walk home, and the pedestrian said, no, 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 just wait around. Cops will be here, ambulance, they got to check on you. And I thought, yeah, I don't want them all chasing me through alleys, as I try to walk home. So I'll sit down and wait for them or wait. And within no time, the cops and ambulance are there. And excuse me, I got some allergies. Um, and they all arrived and they're looking around for a body in the middle of the street, a puddle of blood, and there wasn't one. There was me up standing around talking to all these witnesses, and they were kind of backing away. They didn't know what to do, man. They didn't know who I was or what happened, but they had seen me crying and screaming and terrified, and then stop and then kind of praying and looking up and then talking about something to somebody. And then the car leaped over the curb and hit me, and I'm outside my body. And then I came back and jumped into my body and jumped up to my feet. They don't know what the hell's going on, but this is bizarre. The cops, ambulance asking me what happened. Well, I tried to tell them, and that didn't float. They could naturally thought this guy is nuts, but he's not hurt. They took me to the hospital, x-rayed me, couldn't keep me there, not hurt, not a scratch, nothing. The cops, the ambulance, and even a psychiatrist eventually came in and asked me what happened. How did you not get hurt? And I tried to tell the story again. And so one doctor walked in, and I knew his name. He was dressed in, civilian clothes. And he walked up to me, and I told him I knew who he was and everything. How'd you know this? Man, I know everything right now. I told him about his kids, his education. I could tap into it. Just all there. The thing I couldn't do is turn it off. Blew his mind. And he said, look, we can't let you just walk away. We can't just release you from the hospital. We have to send you to a mandatory commitment to a psychiatric hospital because of what you're saying. And so I thought, okay, got to put me in a psychiatric hospital. Fine. They put me in jail first because they had to get the papers signed by my family to put me in a psychiatric hospital. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't have known what to do. I mean, a guy gets hit by a speeding car, doesn't even feel it, talks about how he went to infinite mind and back. Well, hell, I wouldn't have believed it either. So I had no problem with it. I didn't care. I mean, I've been to heaven and back, the biggest experience anybody could have. So why should I complain? Well, they took me to jail to hold me in jail for 48 hours until they could get the paperwork done. And while I'm in jail, I'm talking to all these other people in jail around me. I couldn't see them. We're all in different cells, but I started talking to them about their cases and And one of the jailers came up finally and said, "You are not a lawyer. You do not have the right to try to give these people legal advice. Shut up and we'll put you in solitary confinement." And I thought, okay, good, because I wanted to shut up. I happened to mention one thing to one guy and nailed some stuff about his case, never even knew the guy, never even saw him. And then all of a sudden, 15 people around me are asking me questions and I'm talking. So when the guard said, "Shut up," I was like, ah, good. 2 days later, they took me to a psychiatric hospital. My brother signed the paperwork, Shoal Creek Hospital here. And when I went in, they took me up to the PICU unit, Protective Intensive Care Unit, and I was still seeing symbolism. So I saw it as, "Psst, I see you, PICU." I saw everything in terms of symbolism still. I asked the nurses on the day I got there for a bunch of envelopes and paper. And every day the psychiatrist would come in and check on me at a random time. And I started writing down the time he would come in to check on me in the morning, put it in an envelope, seal it, give it to the nurse, and tell her to give it to the doctor when he came in. So the first day he came in, he walked to my room, he's got the envelope. "I'll read it later." I said, "No, read it now. It's just one word." "What?" He opened it up. 10:25. What does that mean? Looks at your watch. "Huh, coincidence, Gary." Second day, coincidence, Gary. Third day, I don't want to do this anymore because I could predict exactly what time he was going to come in every day. And God bless him, he was a real fundamentalist Baptist, could not dig or grasp at all what I was saying about God, reincarnation, outside the body, the return of Jesus as a consciousness, fundamentalist Christian. And we're seeing plenty of them now. You really want to know Christians, Christ, act like Jesus, not like self-righteous dictators, which scares me about where a lot of the fundamentalist Christianity is going. It ain't the direction Christ talked about. Uh, so anyway, I finally got in the psychiatric hospital after 10 days. They bring you before a big board of psychiatrists. They want to make sure that it's okay to let me free, release me, or whether to keep me for another 10 days for observation. So I took me for a 10, 15 psychiatrist, 8, I don't know. And I told them again, "I'm not changing my story. Here's what happens. You guys can keep me forever. I ain't going to change it. You're psychiatrists, you're doctors. You ought to be studying this. It shouldn't take someone like me to say, hey, there's a connection between psychic ability and psychosis and parts of the brain, and you people should be studying." Of course, now they are much more deeply, but at the time it was just like very unknown. So I said, "That's my story. I ain't changed it. This is what happened. Lock me up or let me go." And they let me go. About 2 months later, I had a reoccurrence of this. It didn't get quite as heavy. This time, my roommates called my parents. My mom, she came down and took me to Breckenridge Hospital. And of course, I was all amped up and started feeling things. And this time they put me in the Austin State Hospital, gave me Thorazine, which is pretty heavy. And it took me about 7, 8 months to kind of come down from this because it was so intense. And I kept asking my guides. Nobody believed me. I don't care. Some people do, some don't. I don't care. But why did I have this experience? Why me? What did I possibly do to deserve such a beautiful voyage to infinite mind and back? I had to know. I kept asking, kept asking. And sometime in the fall of 77, I was out on my porch playing my guitar once again, wondering why this happened to me. And I all of a sudden felt the guides, the monitors. I didn't see them, but I felt them, and they were like over in my front yard. And they shot this light right in my third eye, and they started talking in this same voice, the "Do you trust us" voice, like James Earl Jones, real deep, assuring, warm voice. They started talking at the same time that I saw these like screen credits going off in a distance like a movie. And they were saying the same words that I was seeing. And it happened real quick, but it felt like it went real long time because I noticed the wind stopped and cars seemed to stop. Everything seemed to stop while this for just a second or two of Earth time. But they told me that I had this experience because I always wanted to know. I was always asking. I was an altar boy. I studied Edgar Casey. I begged for the truth. I demanded to know. I have 6 other brothers. None of them gave a damn. They were interested in other things, but I had to know. And they finally told me, you got this experience because you wanted to know. And that was the second most beautiful day of my life because it all made sense, made a complete circle. I went from not even knowing any human being could go through anything like that. This is 77. There weren't any books about NDEs, at least that I knew of. And I never thought about reading them because I didn't think about it, it never occurred to me. I did my readings. I was playing in bands, traveling a lot. Um, but I was going through a lot of depression because of my limitations as a musician. I couldn't sing well. And so having seen my guides in 77, I started asking them to help me find gigs, cars, this and that, and they did. I got 90% of what I asked for my whole life. Now, I never asked to wake up and sing like, Freddie Mercury or something. That would have made my musical career easy. We don't get everything we ask for, but the more we ask and the more we do our part, the more we benefit. And the universe at this complicated, intense, transformative time wants us to realize that that process can still work. We can still make miracles happen. We can still have an effect on things. There's things you can change and things you can't. Most stuff we can't change, but those are invariables. They're just going to be that way. But the variables in life are things we can change. And that's what I learned to focus on because I went through so much depression and anxiety and fear. And in 1980, asking my guide to help me figure out how to play music to make a living because I really wanted to travel and play music. Um, through a series of coincidences, I got into some large country bands, making a bunch of money in those days, big dance halls. I wasn't that much of a country music guy, but I liked the money. Only driving 30 miles, making not on the road for a month, coming back broke. So I started making a ton of money playing in 1980. And this is the first time in my life I had an apartment by myself, had a piano, was not on the road, making good money. So I started practicing piano in 1980. And I knew guitar, I knew hundreds of chords and songs. I didn't know how to finger piano. What does the right hand do? What's the left hand do? So I started practicing scales 12 and riffs and piano 12 hours a day, literally for 4 years, just to have 2 instruments because I didn't have a good voice. I thought, well, I'm an expendable guitar player. At least I'll have 2 instruments now. And 4 years later, I went out to a piano bar, 3 of them one day, and kind of as a joke, wondering if they'd hire me, and they did. So next week, I'm playing in the 3 best piano bars in town with the best piano players. And I can't sing and can't play that well. I've been playing 4 years. But as you can tell, T, I can talk. I grew up with 6 brothers. I became a very good entertainer, crappy voice and all. And from 1980 on, when I started, 84, when I started playing solo, from that point on, I played either solo my whole life or got hired by bands that wanted me, either for a month or a gig or whatever. I never went to look for bands again. And having the freedom of being a soloist was liberating and fun. Even though I can't sing that well, I can entertain. And so I found a way to make a living playing music. Thank you, Jesus. The long route. Uh, and about 10, 12 years ago, I gave up performing. Uh, just wore me out. Tired of hearing myself, you know. I milked that cow for 45 years, you know. And I started just doing my spiritual work about 20 years ago, more full time. So that's kind of my story. I wrote a book, A Second in Eternity, available on Kindle and Amazon about that experience. It's even got the police records in the back of the book to verify as best as possible what happened. This is a book I wrote in about 15 years ago. I met a lady named Alice Worrell in 1980. She did readings by this method of lithomancy. Involves 16 stones, 10 of them are planets: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And 6 of them are personal: life, love, luck, commitment, timing, and place. Mostly do them over the phone now. When people say drop, I drop the stones. I read them like a clock, record the reading. And I was fascinated when I saw this method in 1980 through this lady named Alice Warhol, and decided, I've never seen this. I like it. It's unique. And so that kind of became my methodology, so to speak. And that's kind of a quick summation of what I went through in my books. And I'm certainly open for questions, my dear.
I would love to ask you some questions. And first, I just want to say that I think you have a very pleasant voice. So,
I'm talking cool and quiet. You don't want to hear me try to sing. I
I think
got better. I got better. I just didn't have the golden throat. I've I played as a solo for 30 years, and I learned to do my songs or in the right key. I went over to Europe and was going to do like yesterday, woo, that's too high. Yesterday, too high. Yesterday, every song I did went down to my key. So I learned how to make it work in spite of not a good voice. I quit trying to sing like people I can't sing like, period.
and that's what success is all about, is making it work in your way.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
kudos to you and congratulations for living a beautiful and well-lived life. And that is quite a remarkable experience. I find it very curious that you started having these experiences a week or 2 weeks before it
Mhm.
actually happened. What's your take on that? What was happening there?
Well, as I found out later, I wanted to know the truth. And I found that out 8 months after I had the near-death experience. When it started coming on, I didn't know. I had no idea. But it's all of a sudden like if you're picked up and dropped off in China, yeah, you may not understand anything, but it doesn't matter. You still got to deal with the situation. And that's kind of where I would felt like that. I didn't know what was happening or certainly why, but I had to deal with it. I just had to deal with it. It never occurred to me it might be a chemical imbalance or a shift of consciousness or the preliminary steps for my NDE, because it exactly was. It showed me in that week before the car accident, I saw everything in terms of symbolism, everything, all the time, in terms of what it really was, a guy walking down the street, or if I'm thinking some thought, I'd look out and see a complete stranger, and what they were doing or the color of a car or the sounds I would hear would confirm or deny or shift or give me some information all the time. In fact, it was nice when it finally cut off. And it took me, several months in 1977. First, they were giving me lithium carbonate, to bring down psychosis in one hospital, and another Thorazine. And both of them took a while to have an effect and mellow me out. But I'm so grateful for the experience. Yeah, mine came kind of different from other people's, that's for sure. A lot of people have near-death experiences, and they do it in a hospital or a coma for a week. Mine was in 2 seconds, the experience itself. The week before was sort of like my guide saying, okay, we're going to show you how to read symbolism. We're going to show you how to understand this, and then we're going to take you and show you the source of all of it and then bring you back. No, I didn't know that was in the game plan, but guess what? It was. So thank you. Um, I'm extremely grateful. I've had people say, well, man, I wish I could have one of those experiences. Well, I wish I could hand out tickets for them, but I can't, you know. But I will say this: be curious. Be curious. Ask your guides. That's one thing. When my guides asked me, do you trust us? At the most critical time in my life, they still had to get my permission to help me. Do you trust? I don't know what would have happened if I just said, no, I don't think so. This doesn't make sense. You know, but they asked me, do you trust us? And that confirms to me, as I try to encourage other people, you have to ask your guides. They respect free will. They know we came here with free will. They're not going to trample over it, but they will tap us on the shoulder. They always tap us on the shoulder. The whole world's getting tapped on the shoulder right now for wake up, people. Be part of the solution, not the problem, you know. Get over your fear. Start being the light. But we, you, me, every individual gets to choose whether to heed the call and benefit and grow and help yourself and your fellow human beings or not, or anywhere in between. We get to decide how much volume, how much water pressure, how much insight, how much growth we're going to allow ourselves to experience and to benefit from. And people should really start grasping the idea that we're all connected to infinite consciousness, infinite power. But we have to practice that just like you got to practice swimming or piano or golf or driving or sex or playing bills or whatever. You know, if we don't practice things, we don't develop skill at them. And certainly in this physical world, time and space, practice, action, activity, cause and effect matter because there ain't no accidents. Everything's cause and effect. Ask your guides. Ask your guide to help you talk to you. Ask your guide to help you understand how to get the answer because that's an art. It's not like just, 2 + 2 = 4. It's an art to know how your guides talk to you. But living is an art, learning is an art. Why should we all of a sudden just get it all and and be gifted with infinite consciousness, even though I was for a second? I'm still back here on Earth and dealing with it all every day, bills and cars, and But at least it's nice to know that I'm truly, like everybody, connected to infinite mind, and we're all connected, and we can all become more empowered. But we have to choose to push that button. We have to choose to exercise that choice, choice, choice. Most powerful thing in life, free will, choice, how we interpret now our lives, our attitudes, our intentions. That's true power. That's liberation because we can always change that. Regardless of our situation, we can always learn more, grow more.
And you spoke about changes coming, and it may be some time. Should we expect some of these changes in the next few years in our life?
Oh, I think we're going through them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, people ask me, said, "What did you see?" Well, it's like I turn on TV for 5 minutes and watch breaking news. That's what I saw, all of it. And not to freak people out, but we're going through a big transformation. We're seeing everything is broken so we can fix it. Because if you don't fix it, it remains broken and it'll bring you down with it. Sorry. So we're getting to see what we can change. And people should be kinder to themselves, love themselves, turn off the fear and doubt. Everybody goes through fear, everybody goes through doubt, everybody goes through different stages in life, but you don't have to stay there. You know, Beethoven, there's a while he went through a stage where he didn't play piano, and then he changed and he started playing piano. You know, the time Tiger Woods didn't play golf and Elon Musk was poor. you know, uh, People do have the ability, more than they realize, to create a magnificent world for themselves and other people. But we do it by thinking that way, not by thinking frustration, terror, hate, everything's screwing me around, blah, blah, blah. It's not stupid to see the glass half full. It doesn't make you oblivious to the potholes. It just allows you to see them and steer around them so you don't run into them. Ta-da! Insight. There's an unlimited potential, and I really encourage people to seek that because I went through so much hell and depression and anxiety and fear, and I can look back with gratitude because now I know and try to help other people recognize that a lot of these issues in life that we go through, they're temporary. They're temporary conditions. They're trying to liberate us, show us something, not trying to torture us. The universe is on our side, but we have to open up and sort of accept that, okay, we're limited in here and here and here and here, but we ain't limited here. We're not limited in heart. We're not limited in mind. We're not limited in spirit. We're not limited in the internal things. Because when we get the light internally working, we see better on the inside, we do better on the outside. Everybody benefits when we turn the light on inside. And it's everybody's responsibility to find their light switch and turn it on. And when it gets low on kerosene, put some more kerosene in it. Keep clearing your glasses off when they get cloudy. Proactive, proactive, proactive. And then it becomes second nature, just like golf or sex or driving or playing checkers. You practice enough, becomes second nature, and then you can jump in giant steps, whether it's music or golf. You learn the basics, then you can learn the big stuff.
I like that. And what you're saying now, it reminds me of a saying that I've heard where everything happens for you, not to you. What do you think about that? Would you agree?
I absolutely agree because there's no accidents, there's no coincidence. We came here because divine infinite mind gave us an opportunity to exist as separate and unique individuals in time and space. What a beautiful gift. And then we get here, and of course, we deal with the human dilemmas, ups and downs, curveballs, emotions, fears, doubts. But guess what? That's part of growth. If you never went through fear, you'd never learn how to deal with it or become fearless. If you never went through doubt, you'd certainly never look for the truth or confirmation or certainty. And if you ain't looking for it, it probably you wouldn't notice if it fell on you like a damn tree. You know, ask, ask. Don't get everything. But the universe is trying to show us all, excuse me, trying to show us all the power of intentions and asking. That's where we plant seeds for miracles to happen. We all got the seeds. We all got the place to plant them. We just have to do it. And ask your guide to help you. They will, but they can't break in your free will. You know, they'll tap you on the shoulder. So when you feel a tap, answer the phone. Might be the best call you ever get.
You spoke a lot about trust, and I think trust is really a key. And that's a theme that I hear with a lot of near death experiencers, especially people that have strong gifts afterwards, is that the universe is asking us to trust.
Absolutely. That's what my guides asked me very clearly. Do you trust us? So clear, so profound, and so simple. It's a yes or a no. You know, you were terrified a second ago. Now you feel like beautiful in heaven and protected and covered. And do you trust us? A pretty easy question, really. Yeah, I do. But yeah, we go through doubts and fears so we can overcome them. The whole human race, you and me and everybody. And we're going through a period of a lot of change, a lot of transformation. Everybody from Edgar Casey to the Christians to the Indians, everybody around the world has predicted things about this period in time of a big breakthrough, and it is. All our holes in the boat are showing up so we can get the duct tape and start fixing them.
So, what are some of the ways that we can kind of move through this huge transformation seamlessly without the fear, without the doubt, without the negative connotations that are associated with the change
Yeah,
that's coming?
we do as individuals and humans, whether we accept the responsibility or not, we are responsible for what goes through our head, what we think about, how we feel. Uh, Now, if you have very heavy mental problems or so forth, it's a different case. But most people are of normal IQ, balance, harmony lives. We all have the ability to tap into this infinite mind, but we don't know it. People don't know it's available. but it is. And how do you do it? Well, you start with intentions. Number one, don't worry about what you didn't know or what you feared yesterday or what you feared 5 seconds ago. Just let go of all that crap because it ain't 5 seconds ago. It's now. So constantly reevaluate and live in the now, number one. Number two, everything we go through can teach us something. And I finally got to the point where I look at life that way. No matter what I go through, have gone through, or will go through, I'm going to look at how much it can teach me because it's obvious it can throw you off course and hurt you and screw you around. It's obvious that, yeah, too much pressure brings a tsunami. Uh, but it's also obvious you can watch the weather and get out of the way in time. We can be proactive about growth, and we have to be. And be proactive about talking to your guides. Ask them to teach you how to pick up the signs because they will. And they talk to you, they're going to call you on the phone, talk to you in very subtle feelings. Most psychic experiences are extremely subtle. Now, my NDE and other people's NDE wasn't quite so subtle. But before then, things were, and after then, things were, because the universe is not always screaming neon lights. Sometimes it may be, but most of the time it's very subtle. And people have no idea how much they can tune into that and learn. How? Same way you learn to drive. You make a decision and you practice. Same way you go to college, same way you expand your consciousness or learn to play chess. You decide and you practice. And no matter what went on yesterday or might tomorrow, you can decide right here, right now to start evolving and growing. And every time you feel fear, it's like I taught myself piano and guitar. When you hit a bad note, change it. Learn to play the right note then. Otherwise, you bring a bad habit in, you start playing too many crappy notes. Nobody wants to hear. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
yeah, self correct. Believe that you have the power because you do. Practice that power. When you feel doubt and concern, recognize, because I look at fear and doubt as like a fire alarm. It's helping us know there's a fire. So go put the fire out, come back, cut the alarm off. It served its purpose. Everything we go through can serve a purpose. Or we can look at it as in vain and feel in vain because things are in vain if we think they're in vain, and they have meaning if we think they have meaning. They have meaning anyway, but we can throw that out the damn window and think everything's a conspiracy against us or nothing works or anger or hate. Or we can go to the other side and see everything as life teaching you something, life showing you something, life enlightening you, or anywhere in between. We get to adjust the nozzle of our own subconscious, of our own conscious mind. Meditate, people. Spend 5 minutes a day meditating. And remember, when you meditate, give yourself a couple minutes of not thinking, just being, just breathing. Just think of a mantra, divine light, a picture of a waterfall. Give yourself 5 minutes of effective turn the thinking mind off. It works great most of the time, but so does your car, and sometimes you got to turn it off to let it rebuild itself. So our tools, our techniques, the things we can do are pretty unlimited, but they start with believing and knowing really that you can have an effect on your life and on other people. You can change things. You lose an arm in a car accident, you're not going to grow the arm back, but you don't have to be angry forever either. You can use it to show how other people how to use prosthetics. You can always use everything we go through in life to grow or benefit or learn, just as you can learn it to use it to be more frustrated and someone's picking on me. It's all in attitude. And that's where we have free will. That's what we can upgrade and should and need to. It won't self upgrade all the time. Sometimes it does, but most of the proactiveness is cleaning your own glasses, da-da, listening to your own heart, your own mind. When you feel fear and doubt, acknowledge it and go, what's it telling me? Okay, tell me to take off that broken record and go put the fire out. Then go do it. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense. Yeah, it's a beautiful way of explaining it, and lots of tools that you provided in order to kind of get us through these hard times that are coming up. When we connect with our guides, should we be in a trance state or a meditative state, or can we just connect with them and speak to them anytime throughout the day?
They're always available. They're always there. They don't rest, but they don't barge in on your free will either. So yeah, and they're not on a schedule. They don't have to sleep and eat like we do. Uh, and they're always accessible 24/7, but they do respect and constantly respect the free will of people. They don't trample on you. In fact, if anything, you have to do a little digging, exploring, asking, learning, just to ensure that you really want to go there, because we have free will, and that's the most important, the most beautiful gift we have. So yeah, use the free will to empower yourself, believe, take off the fear, take off the doubt. And if you never went through curveballs in life, you'd never learn how to deal with life's curveballs. If you never went through doubt, you'd never learn how to conquer it, or deal with it, you know. Uh, every human being goes through doubt, fear, and so forth, but every human being can learn from that too and not repeat that, you know. I mean, if you're in solitary confinement, you can't do much of it, but I guarantee you'll spend your time trying to think peace, happiness, survival, rather than God, I hope they kill me tomorrow so I don't have to deal with this anymore, right? And sometimes we have to go through experiences that force or encourage us to expand our consciousness. I went through one unbeknownst that I pushed that button by curiosity. And it came back and said, okay, you ready to handle this? Here you go, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, we can all tap into that power by choice, by practice, and by patience. It's not a button, it's a process.
So, like you were saying earlier, practice makes perfect, and that includes connecting with our guides and asking for the things that we think that we need in our life.
Yeah, asking is important because that confirms it. It's not like they don't know. you know, the universe knows everything that we go through, our higher mind, but they're not judgmental. They're on guard to help if you need it, but they can't barge in and demand to take over, and won't. They'll cooperate.
Gary, if my viewers wanted to reach out to you or purchase your books, you said your books were available on Amazon. How can my viewers find you otherwise? Do you have a website?
Yeah, my website is GaryWimmer.com, GaryWimmer.com. I'm also an actor and a writer and a musician. So on my front page there, my home page, there's 4 pictures. If you're interested in the psychic work, which is about all I do now, I don't play music anymore. I don't do any more acting. Uh, I do write and I do give psychic readings. So check on the psychic link. It's the bottom right picture. There's 4 pictures there. Or you can go to lithomancy.com, LITHOMANCY, lithomancy.com. That'll forward you to the my psychic link. But yeah, if you go Google Gary Wimmer, you'll find me, GaryWimmer.com. And people can email me if they want a reading, GW at GaryWimmer.com, GW at GaryWimmer.com. Uh, you can leave a phone message, 512-707-0836. You'll always get my voicemail because I'm always on the phone and always getting so many calls. I don't know what to do. Most of them don't leave a message. So if you want me to call you back, leave a clear message with your information. And that's how you can connect with me. GaryWimmer.com, lithomancy.com, LITHOMANCY.com. Email me, GW@GaryWimmer.com. And sometimes I have a waiting list. Sometimes it's a little long. Sometimes it's not that long. It's not that long now, but it can change. It goes up and down. But people contact me, I'll get back with you and we'll set up a time.
So you give psychic readings. The gifts that were given to you in the week prior to your near-death experience, those stayed with you throughout your life?
Yes, but they weren't so incredibly intense. And it's not like I didn't. I always felt, even from as a young kid, I felt a sense of intuition. I grew up with two older brothers and four younger brothers, and I could always kind of see things going to happen before they'd happen, which seemed to me obvious, but other people didn't think that way. So yeah, I've always had sort of an interest in psychic ability, a curiosity. Got six brothers, none of them are. So everybody has their own different talent and interest. But as far as tapping into psychic ability, we all have it. We're all connected to it, infinite mind. But just like learning how to drive, the way you do it is you decide and you practice. And if you don't decide and practice, it's still there, but you're not. That's part of it.
Gary, this has been such a pleasure to have you as my guest. If you had one message you would hope the viewers would take away from our conversation today, what would that message be?
Keep the faith. It's a transition period. We can't change it. It's life, it's evolution, but it's not in vain. We're getting to see everything that needs to be fixed individually and collectively for one reason, so we can fix them, period. Stay empowered. Look at the good. It doesn't make you stupid to be optimistic. It allows you to make the better decisions. So basically, keep your faith, think big. And I could add a couple of those lists. Meditate, believe, have faith, turn off the fear. Start doing some of those, start practicing, start cleaning your glasses off, start upgrading your consciousness, and you'll start really seeing the beauty within yourself and with the world and what you can bring into play. And that'll make fear and doubt kind of just push it out of the way. It's possible. It really is.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Gary, for being my guest and taking the time out of your day to come and share your words of wisdom and your beautiful experience with myself and my viewers.
Thank you, my dear. Tia, you have a good day. God bless you and stay empowered. And to all you folks, be fearless. It takes a little practice, but you'll go a lot further and get a lot more done.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near-death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.